A lot of folks are wondering, will admissions essays matter less this cycle? Hey, what's up everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to share whether law school admissions essays will matter less this cycle. Before I get into it, a little bit about LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. Check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. So I got this very thoughtful comment here from a YouTuber. I'll read it below, then share my thoughts. They're writing, I'm getting mixed predictions from former admission officers and LSAT program coordinators. Essays will be weighed heavily this year, post-affirmative action ban, and the LSAT will at some point be replaced/phased out. It is harmful to say that essays will matter less when people like Dean Z have said that it most certainly will remain one of the main components they evaluate aside from the GPA/LSAT score. We should really be telling applicants for this cycle to score well on the LSAT and give these new essay prompts their all. In reality, people will, with tons of work experience and solid essays, have a better chance of admissions this cycle than someone with poor essays and a high LSAT score. So many thoughts here. I'm excited to share my thoughts on them here. So first off, yes, it's not surprising that you're getting mixed predictions because there's a lot of chaos this cycle. We've got the affirmative action ban, the looming threat of the LSAT requirement being removed. We have chatgpt in the mix this cycle as well. We have US News rankings changes all thrown together, making this a very complicated admission cycle. Now, so it's not surprising that you're getting mixed predictions. A lot of folks are simply speculating or making their best guesstimates as to what will happen. But there are some claims you're making here that simply are not true. First off, we don't know to what extent essays will be weighed this year for a number of reasons. First off, it's funny that you mentioned Dean Z, by the way. Essays will likely have less relevance this year. That does not mean they won't still be a main component of the application, but they will almost certainly have less weight because the widespread use of ChatGPT means that admission officers don't really know whether you wrote your essay or not. AI chatbots like ChatGPT have democratized access to low-cost or free editing and proofreading, even structuring and ideating your essay from scratch. This has had so much of an impact on admissions and admissions essays that UMichigan was the first school I've seen actually to ban the use of all AI tools in writing your application essay. Dean Z was likely one of the very first people in law school admissions to ban the use of ChatGPT for essays. So obviously, Michigan is quite concerned about the use of ChatGPT, which means this casts a big red flag on the writing of anyone whose essay is quote unquote too good relative to their undergraduate GPA or relative to their numbers. In fact, the LSAT writing sample will likely become a lot more important in admissions because it's the only unfiltered look at your true writing ability when law schools know you didn't get any help on your essay on your writing sample because it was proctored. I would take what admission officers say with a big grain of salt. Of course, they like saying admissions is holistic, but in practice, we see quite clearly that if your LSAT and GPA are above the median, you're likely getting in. If they are both below the median, you likely are not getting in. It's really as simple as that. And of course, essays can make some difference in edge cases, but if your numbers aren't there, you're probably not getting in. Secondly, the US News rankings methodology changes mean that law schools are looking quite closely at your bar passage rate, at the likelihood of your passing the bar, as well as the likelihood of your getting employment upon graduation. Your LSAT score and your GPA are the best indications of your law school grades, which in turn are the best indications of whether you will pass the bar. As for the likelihood of your getting employment upon graduation, one of the best indications of your employability is your ability to interview well and your work experience, aka your resume. And so your performance on any law school admissions interviews, as well as your resume, are really good indications of how likely you are to become employed upon graduation. And so the increased relevance of your interviews and your resume means that there is decreased relevance of your essays because not everything can have increased relevance. Increased relevance of one factor automatically means decreased relevance of another factor. I also, of course, got to call out that you're saying the LSAT will at some point be replaced/phased out. That simply is not true. The ABA, in fact, added a last-minute amendment to removing the LSAT requirement, saying they wouldn't remove the requirement until fall of 2025, and then they never even put the entire issue to a vote. So it will be years before they remove the LSAT requirement, if they ever do remove it at all. Additionally, even if the ABA does remove the LSAT requirement, law schools likely will still require the LSAT because they find it useful in the admissions process. Under the current ABA rules, law schools are simply required to consider a valid and reliable admission test like the LSAT as part of their admissions process. However, they could only consider it as 1% of admissions. However, the vast majority of law schools weigh the LSAT more heavily than they do undergraduate GPA because they find it useful. No one's forcing them to do this. Of course, the US News rankings are a factor as well, and they will likely continue to be a factor as well, and they will likely continue to be a factor in the admissions process for the foreseeable future. And so I would take a closer look at some of the assumptions underlying the arguments here. And this is part of what we do when we're evaluating LSAT arguments, right? We consider underlying assumptions and how it's possible for two different claims to both simultaneously be true. So it is possible for essays to still be one of the main components in an application, while still not being weighed as heavily as they were in previous years. And we're seeing for a number of reasons here, such as the rise of AI chatbots like ChatGPT, as well as the US News rankings criteria changes, that essays will likely matter less than they have in previous years. Of course, you should still give these new essay prompts your all. In fact, I've made a number of videos walking through the different new optional essay prompts at a variety of schools like Harvard and Yale and Stanford, for example, and I've walked through how these essay prompts are important and how I would consider answering them to highlight diversity, as well as to reduce the total number of essays you have to write, since there's been a big multiplication in the number of essays you have to write for each different school. We want to, of course, maximize the quality of what you're writing while ideally minimizing the quantity of different essays you're writing, while still allowing you to apply to as many law schools as you want to do. But of course, the LSAT still remains the number one factor in the admissions process and likely will continue to be so for the foreseeable future. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to see it. Maybe you know someone else who's been confused about navigating the application essays, the ChatGPT factor, the US News rankings factor, how to weigh LSAT versus GPA. A lot to unpack here, but I don't do any advertising for this channel. I rely only on word of mouth to help get the word out, and your spreading the word by sharing a link to this video really does make a difference. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.